Welcome everyone to the Energy Medicine Summit. I'm Dr. Christine Schaffner, and today I'm with my co-host of the Energy Medicine Summit, Vanessa Codorniu, and we're going to be talking about assembling your energy medicine toolkit. For those of you who already know and may want to know more about Vanessa, she's an acclaimed psychic, hypnotist, and teacher with 27 years of experience and more than 10,000 individual sessions. She is a bruja and a Latinx teacher of intuition and clinical hypnosis with a focus on healing ancestral trauma patterns through hypnosis called ancestral hypnosis healing. And she held over 460 ancestral healing sessions during COVID. Welcome, Vanessa.
Hello, Dr. Christine. How are you?
It's such an honor to get to interview you. I know that we've been putting together these interviews, and I'm so excited to learn more about your work. And as we start our conversation, I think it would be really lovely to hear your journey and how you learn to understand your gifts as really an energy medicine worker.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. And I'm excited to be here with you as well in the same space. So I am South American and I grew up in a home where we honored dreams. We believed in the afterlife. We believe that the body speaks and shares and also holds on to information, right? Especially, we wouldn't have called it trauma, but we would call it susto or other words that come from curanderismo. And so we already had that background in my family. And so I grew up with these things that other folks may have called superstition at the time. But what I realized as I got older, I was like, oh no, we're actually practicing energy medicine and energy healing. And so, for example, my grandmothers, my mom, we would, if somebody didn't feel well, we would tap on certain parts of the body or pull out energy, like feel the energy, pull it out, where the person actually felt it being pulled out of their body, right? And so this is something that I was growing up with, and people around me did not grow up the same way. So it was very strange to grow up that way in some ways and very incredibly natural in another way. As I grew into my intuition and my psychic ability, I was 16 years old when certain information came through to me. My mom actually blindfolded me in an experiment. My mom was a journalist, and she blindfolded me and she flipped over a Ouija board. And, that's not I don't think that it's the format that most people want to go through when they're connecting with the other side, but it's something that has appeared in a lot of movies and usually is scary, etc. But we flipped it over and I was blindfolded and very specific information and energy came through my body. For example, that this lady with red hair and a little kid next to her, dripping wet with a car behind in the river, was telling my mom to take care of my father, say take care of Willie. And I'm like blindfolded, Mom, this woman is talking to me in my head, and telling me that we need to take care of our dad. And more information came out like that. When she took off that blindfold and showed me a photo of my dad's ex-girlfriend. So the lady in the river had been my dad's ex-girlfriend, married someone else, had a child, and then died in a car accident in a river. And so I had no idea. It was not spoken about. My mom basically brought over a photograph, pulled out the back of the frame and showed that she had kept her photo behind my dad's photo, almost like honoring her, that she had been in a relationship with my dad and she had crossed over. And so at 16, my mind is like, poof, blown, where I'm like, okay, I'm receiving information. I'm pulling stuff out of people's bodies. What do I do with this? As I got older, I realized that I was very, very sensitive. That I was walking into spaces, picking up information. And someone luckily said to me, Vanessa, your energy field is so open and you're a psychic sponge. You need to study Reiki. And so I trained in Usui Reiki Ryoho, which is a Japanese path of hands-on healing and energy healing. And that took me to the next step where now I was this intuitive, picking up information, energy worker, but now I had some sort of system. What happens to us, I think, is sometimes we have this gift or this ability, but we don't have a particular process to filter it through. And so we can get lost in it or not know how to end it, begin it. With Reiki, it really changed everything. And then as I'm moving through this energy work, and I studied to be a priestess, and I was studying shamanism, all the things, and healing my own life and going through the things, I realized and looked at myself and my clients and my students. And actually, I didn't have students in my early 20s. I had more like groups of people sitting in circle. I realized that we were deepening in our intuition. We were knowing what to do, like, well, this is not good for you, don't do this. we were doing energy work. And then in the energy work, we were feeling really good almost immediately. And sometimes it had a longer time, but there was like a piece missing. And I was realizing that everybody in my family who's getting intuitive readings or giving them, that they were like, oh yeah, that's true. But then I was like, but the patterns are the same. We're still doing the same actions. Or looking at my own life, like, okay, I know this, but I'm still scared to be seen and visible in my work. And so then I went into hypnosis in my 20s and then continued it. And so it's been moving from, okay, I understand that we're all one on some level. I understand that the world is made of energy. I understand that we're interconnected and that we all have intuitive knowing within us and the capacity to heal. How do I let it serve me now? So for me, it was a question of like, okay, I know this is real. How can I put it into some sort of practice so it serves me to be healthier, happier, and be a better person? And then the next step is like, well, how do I support other people in being happy and healthy and tapping into their own beautiful gifts? And then it went into, well, how can I teach people? So it was like this flow. So thank you for that question and for allowing the time to be able to share this.
Wow, it's beautiful. And I love how your journey has guided you and you found all these tools and gifts and, really created your own methodology. And I know that you train and teach a lot of people as well. No, I just love hearing people's stories. And, we're in a time, right, that I think it's more than ever, we need to share access to our own ability to heal and self-regulate. And, of course, we have doctors and physicians and everything when we need them, but there's this whole access that I think is still maybe underappreciated, undertaught, underacknowledged. And I know that's a big part of your work. And so maybe just talking about it, from what I've gathered from your work, you find that we all can self-heal, right? But there is either we don't have the information, or that maybe we even have resistance within our own system to access that. So can you talk a little bit about this idea of resistance to our own self-healing ability?
Absolutely. And I think that, thank you for that question. I think that it really, or what I've noticed within myself and I've noticed with my clients and students, it goes back to self-worth. It goes back to what we learned as a child, to the early trauma that we were unknowingly subjected to in our family systems, where, well, mom and dad aren't paying attention to me, they didn't hear me, so I'm not important. And so part of the way that we could work through that resistance is allowing ourselves to just show up as we are. So it's not like, oh, I have to have 5 years of therapy before I've healed, all my family stuff, and then I can do this. Or I have to go to a sweat lodge for this amount of years, or I have to do this practice for amount of years. If we can embrace ourselves in the present moment, right? So the resistance is like, well, no, because I'm not ready yet, because, or even subconsciously that I don't deserve it, I'm not worthy of it, or even the thought of it's never going to change, right? Especially if we've been used to dysfunctional family systems, it's never going to change no matter what I do. And so these are some of the thoughts and some of the patterns that we can carry. What I invite people into is, let's just be here now and let's just show up as we are, right? Loving all of it, the parts we don't like, the shame, the guilt, I thought I'd be further along in life. I thought I'd feel better. Hey, I did yoga for all these years, but I'm still trembling when I talk to my mom. It's okay. I think that maybe in the old days, like in the 80s, right? There was this thought that we were going to love and light everything away. Or if we got that one technique that was going to bring us into bliss forever. I'm not saying that it can't happen, but it's so important for us to just embrace ourselves and just say even to ourselves, even though I'm pushing really hard against showing up to the mat today, or even though I've been really pulled about, I don't have time to show up for my walk in nature or my breath work, allowing ourselves to just say, even though I feel that way, I'm going to show up for myself. And maybe even adding, like, for all the times that others didn't show up, I'm going to do it. Like, we get an opportunity as we grow older to reparent ourselves, to give ourselves what we felt we didn't need. For me, part of my journey was reparenting myself, giving myself what I thought I didn't receive or didn't have space for as an older daughter. There were 4 kids, there was a lot going on, and finding that time. And so if you have any of that resistance, it's normal. And if
Mhm.
you don't even name it that, you're just like, you can call it, I don't have time, I'm too busy, this is what's happening. And I'll tell you, there are a lot of times that I have 12-hour days, as you know, Dr. Christine, right?
We connect on that level.
Some it or not.
Yeah.
And you know what? I get into that tub and I'm like taking that breath, feeling that water on my skin and just breathing in and just saying, I release what is mine and not mine. I allow myself to be here. And if tears come from that, or stress, or joy, or laughter. And so, even if you're really busy, taking that walk without a podcast on, I know, because I used to take walks with podcasts. I'm like, this is the only time I have.
Mhm.
Allowing yourself to be present with all that is going to help you get to your energetic toolkit. It's going to help you get to your practice. I remember, so I did this challenge with myself where I was like, I'm going to do yin yoga because I was having trouble sleeping, going through the shifts of life as we all go through them as women. And as I was in perimenopause, I said to myself, I know that yin yoga is so good for me. Why is it that I'm not showing up for myself? And so I set up the mat. It's still here in my office. And every night I said, I don't care what time I finish. And so sometimes it was at 11 o'clock that I'd get there. Sometimes it was 12. Hate to admit it publicly. Sometimes it was 2 a.m.
Mhm.
Okay. But I would give myself those 15 minutes and my sleep improved. But it's like we have to embrace what is happening now, not try to make it what it's not. Yeah, I'm stressed. Well, I feel like this, but I don't have time. Okay, what time do I have? And so know that resistance is one, everybody has it on some level. Two, a lot of it could be mostly subconscious. And three, if we call it out and we give ourselves that moment of saying it out loud, yeah, I don't know why I want to walk, but I'm not walking. What is it? Because we're also creatures of habit, right? Like so many
Mhm.
of us, I've been online full time, almost 10 years. I talked to other entrepreneurs online, and with COVID, we all started working from home. We know that we need to move every day. It's just natural and normal that we would move. We know that it's healthy for us. And yet we're like, let me plow through the work. Let me plow. And it's like, okay, even though I have a lot of work to do, I deserve, and I'm going to give myself that moment. And I know it's going to be better for me and taking ourselves outside. So it's just really that energy of acceptance and calling it out that I think is going to definitely improve for us.
I love that. I love that. And, I feel, it's like our bodies, our physical bodies, our energy body, are really forgiving. We have this opportunity every day to start anew and really to access these other parts of ourselves and release these other parts of ourselves and to create anew. I just always sit with that. We can have these stories and these traumas and the patterns, and it's complicated, right? But at the same time, as you are sharing with us, it's also we can make these really profound shifts each day with very simple techniques, which I just love that. I love how accessible it is. And of course, I'm not trying to oversimplify it because I know some people need, a lot of support as they, gain these awarenesses and insights. But I love that, how we came to this physical body, that we have the opportunity to really create anew. I just think of the idea that we have, resident stem cells in every organ, and the body's always trying to, create anew. Like we have access to that, which is just beautiful. Vanessa, this might be a good time, or maybe not. I know you wanted to lead us through some experiences, right? So you teach a lot of different practices and rituals and things to access these concepts that we've been talking about. Would you like to share one at this moment?
Absolutely. So I want to invite everyone who's been here, right, and who is here now, to pay attention to what resonates as you're going through all the interviews, through all the talks. What makes you feel really good? What makes you feel like this is home, right? What makes you feel like, "Ah, I can finally exhale?" And those are going to be some of the things that are going to call you forward. Are going to invite you to show up more often than the thing that you're like, okay, I know it's good for me, but I don't like it. Right. So it's really important for you to, the invitation here is to pay attention to the teachers, to the speakers, to the exercises, and allow yourself to move towards that expands you, because that is what really is going to bring you to present moment. We all know that when we're thinking about the past, right, kind of beating ourselves up, I should have done it this way, I should have said it this way, I should have done this, I should have done that, we're not really in present moment. It's not like we can take advantage of those beautiful cells, as you said, that are recreating and fully on the body level. And then on the mind and the heart, we're pulling our energy away. When we're thinking too much about the future, when we're focused too much on, giving ourselves anxiety, we're not even allowing ourselves to fully be coherent with ourselves, with our energy body, with our biofield, with our mind, body, and spirit. And so I'm going to guide us into like a very super brief exercise first. I mean, it's going to be like 2 seconds practically.
Yeah.
And it's going to be about like how we can start our day in co-creation, right? How we can start our day in co-creation. So I'm going to invite us now to feel our feet on the ground and even push them into the ground. Like I'm moving my feet like this right now. You don't see them. So pushing our feet into the ground. Now even bouncing a little bit in your seat, like bouncing, right? Sometimes we want to move out of our body, or we've been taught in different practices, we're going to evolve out. But to me, the greatest gift of this existence is that we are a soul in a body experiencing the beautiful potential, right? Through this beautiful vessel and through the relationships and the communities and the work that we bring through the world. And so we're bouncing. And now we're gently just going to allow ourselves to shake our shoulders a little bit like this, and just shaking. And we're just allowing our body to be here, allowing ourselves to just arrive as we are. And now gently allowing our eyes to close. And just breathing into that. And you might feel a little tingly, you might feel a little extra alive with all the movements, more vitality in your body. And let's just take the right hand and put it over our heart. We're going to put the left hand lower below our belly button, right? Just by the belly button area. And just breathing into your hand and focusing in on that energy, not needing to shift the breath, not needing to change it into anything, just allowing ourselves to be here, just noticing our breath. So we breathe in and we breathe out. Just allowing ourselves to go even deeper into the breath. And as we allow ourselves to notice our breath going in and out, right? Just noticing it, allowing ourselves to come forward into this moment. So we're going to take 3 deep breaths. And we're going to call our energy back, and only the energy that serves us now, because sometimes we don't need our past energy. We let it go for a reason. So we're going to take a deep breath in, breathing in, calling our energy back, only that serves us now. And exhaling what we don't need. And taking another deep breath in and calling back our energy, and only the energy that serves us in this moment. Breathing in, releasing any extra energy or anybody else's energy that we don't need. And another breath in, breathing in, energy that we need, releasing anything we don't need. And as we allow ourselves to be here in this moment, asking ourselves, what are we wanting to receive from this exchange, from this conversation? And allowing it to be information that comes more from the body rather than the head. And so just breathing in and asking yourself, what do I really want to receive from this conversation, from this talk today? Breathing in. Allowing yourself to receive that answer from your body and inner knowing through a feeling, through a word, through an energy, through a thought. Then taking another breath in and asking, how am I willing to show up for this conversation, for these exercises, and breathing in? How am I willing to show up? Am I willing to be open? Am I willing to be receptive? Am I willing to be moved? Am I willing to move beyond past thoughts or what I know and open to new ways of creating greater health and resiliency and openness? So breathing in and choosing your own intention. How am I willing to show up today? And as we feel into both energies, what we're wanting to receive and how we're willing to show up today, just feeling that and anchoring that into our being. And whenever you're ready, gently opening your eyes and returning.
That was lovely.
So it's really
Mhm.
tiny and small. So I love this. I do this in every class. I start with this, like for my class of 20, 30. I don't try to have too big of a group, 20, 30, sometimes 80 people. And what people thought they were coming for, I want to get the certification to create a business, whatever it is, or to go to the next level of my education. I want to receive peace. I want to be myself. I want to receive clarity. And so our mind might be, well, I'm here because I need to figure out how to release my anxiety. And then you go in there and you receive, I want to receive acceptance of where I'm at, peace, right? And then how you're willing to show up. So we know a lot with nonverbal communication, when people are like that a lot, when the body's closed, we know we read that energetic, we read that visually, right? But energetically, we could be sitting here like this and still be like, show me what you got. I don't know if I'm convinced, right? But how we commit to showing up to anything, and that little process, that tiny little process of calling back the energy that we need and only the energy we need, and then being in our heart and being in our body, breathing low, allows us to understand what we are really wanting to receive, not what our mind is telling us. And then what we're willing to do, what we're willing to show up for. Now, we can use this if we're having a difficult conversation with a partner. We can do this right before going into the dentist, by the way, because I use self-hypnosis for dental work, because it's like, I have that still, even though I've worked on it. So I do that all the time. But this little thing is like, I'm willing to show up when I go to the dentist office. I always tell them, give me a minute. I do this before going into the dentist office. In the dentist office, I do self-hypnosis, which we're going to talk about later. But before I go in, I'm just like, I want to receive health, support, kindness. I want to receive safety, that I'm safe, right? And then usually it feels like I'm willing to show up trusting. I'm willing to show up that this person who's working on me is a good person and cares and is going to do the work and is going to do it in a way that they care about my well-being. That has shifted everything, right? Because the more fear we have in our body and the more we contract, the more everything hurts. It's going to make us more receptive to pain. So we could do it for going to a doctor's office, having a difficult conversation. I've used that basic exercise with a lot of my cancer patients. So I work with a lot of folks with cancer who have tried everything alternative and are going to continue alternative, but now have been told that they have to go into chemo radiation. They're so afraid of the process that I'm like, if we do this to begin and then follow with the self-hypnosis or hypnosis that I give them in a recording, they're much more open and they come out of the process feeling like, even though, I thought this is scary and this might poison me, I am going to receive this and allow it to support my body rather than hurt it. And people have, said that they felt better, that they have not had the impacts as difficult experience with their body and their mind and their spirit. And so this is a very brief little thing that we could do, but it's just something you can add to your toolkit now just to shift things.
I love that. And no, thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm hoping people can, play around with this and explore doing this on a regular basis. And that's a big part of why we felt compelled to do the Energy Medicine Summit together, is that people actually can have practices and tangible things that they can bring into their daily life. And you already started touching on Vanessa, and I know that you shared how you were trained in hypnotherapy, and you also teach people this idea of self-hypnosis. Can you just walk us through what that means?
Yeah, so as I was saying, that self-hypnosis changed my life. And I want to talk about a couple of things that I've used it for personally and how I arrived to this. And so I was in college, I was afraid of math. And you would think that English is not my first language, right? So you would think that the numbers are international, they're global, right? A number is a number is a number. But the way that it's taught, it's still in English. So when I first came to this country and Spanish was my first language, I started to develop this intense fear over math specifically. And there I was in college, I was 19, and I was like, I have a great grade point average, and now I'm about to go and take a math class, and it's going to plummet to, right? And so I was just sitting there, I was in meditation, I was in prayer, I was like, universe, higher self, inner knowing, give me something, because I need support with this. It felt like it was going to be overwhelming. I walked into a bookstore, there was one book at that time, Self-Hypnosis, took it out. And it guided me through a 30-day practice to create, and I created a cassette. Back in the day, it was the cassette. I created a cassette, and I started to realize that I was like, maybe it's not that I'm bad at math. Maybe it's that there was like an early trauma or message that I'm not good at that, because I was afraid at the time of even English. But actually, English was one of my favorite subjects. So who knows about that? But anyway, I didn't like the teacher either. He was mean. So I created this cassette tape. I started to listen to it for 30 days. I went from a C minus to an A minus. And so that was at 19. And by the way, my psychology teacher at the time was like, Vanessa, the hypnosis is not real. Vanessa, this will not help you. And I'm like, you know what? Here it is. It says C minus. Now it's an A minus. And it was really, and my actual math teacher came to me and said, Professor, he said, you did such a turnaround. Were you tutored? I'm like, no, this cassette, I did hypnosis. He's like, really? Because I was scared. I didn't want to come to class. I had sweaty palms. I had, anxiety. I was breathing high up in my chest. I was able to find this place of expansion, of trust and curiosity instead of fear. I'm like, what if I could be good at it? What if I am good at it? What if there's a part of my mind or my brain that hasn't been tapped into yet? And so that's the curiosity that brought me forth. And then I would say that hypnosis has been really powerful in working with folks with a lot of public speaking fear. So I've worked with a lot of even Hay House authors and other well-known teachers and writers who were going from writing and being behind the scenes to being more publicly seen. They're like, I'm not used to it. And guiding them through a hypnosis process and then having them repeat it for themselves was something that shifted everything really dramatically. There was someone who came to me that wound up actually not eating and drinking the day he had to speak in front of 20 people, a tech expert that was so terrified, and he won some award and he was invited to speak to 10 people. And then he had to go to Japan to speak to 5,000 people. And he wound up not eating that day and drinking. And so when he went up on stage to speak in front of 10 people, it was a disaster where his friends rushed at him to save him. And they were like, here, speak with Vanessa. And when he came to me, we were able to, and not eating, and like all this self-sabotage, the stress, the anxiety, it didn't let him be present or take care of himself for the day. We worked on what was at the heart of it. There was some childhood stuff, some educational things, and being seen, right? The fear of being seen and visibility. And he wound up going to Japan and rocking out the 5,000 person, right? But I taught him also self-hypnosis. And he wrote me and he's like, Vanessa, I never thought. And so wherever you're at with a fear or a mindset, or that's not for me, can even be applied to, it's been applied to people who say to me, look, no one in my family ever has a partner. We get married, we have a child, we get divorced. It's just generation after generation. That goes into ancestral pattern too. And I'm like, what if it's something that's just been repeated because that's all you know? What if you can change this? And there's a part of you that's already in process. And so when I guided them through that intro exercise of how they want to show up, they decided to show up ready, willing, available to transform and shift those changes. So I wanted to give that little bit of intro. And now I want to talk about self-hypnosis because I thought that it was so important. So it shifted my life at 19. And after that, I was like, oh my God, I have to get the training. I have to get the training. And, from there, I went from past life regression work that's impacted people's health, like powerfully, into even soul attachment release. Soul attachment is when there's a spirit that's crossed over that you may or may not know that is attached to you. And suddenly you're feeling depressed and anxious. And even though you're doing all the things to work yourself into good mental health, there's something there supporting yourself that can shift it. So I went into a lot of different arenas. But the thing that I love the most is how can we take this tool that an expert is working us through and actually tap into that ourselves, right? And so hypnosis is it's inducing a state of consciousness in which a person apparently loses the power of voluntary action, right? Apparently, because you're like super relaxed, you're not in a trance, but you're in a deep, deep state of relaxation. You become highly responsive to suggestion or direction, right? And it can be used in therapy, it can be used in many different ways. And so this induced state of consciousness brings us into releasing the everyday mind and the
Mm,
everyday, critical mind, the conscious mind, the ego mind, whatever you want to call it, and allows us to tap into deep, deep inner resources of health, right? Into those cells that are vibrating, into that deep subconscious, and even into the super conscious, right? We can call it transpersonal. It goes even beyond the personal. That state where we can all tap into higher self awareness, intuition, deeper knowing, and everyone has it.
mm,
Everyone absolutely has it. Now, people say, well, how can I self-hypnotize myself? I've never been trained.
mm,
So every process of hypnosis is self-hypnosis. So when I work with someone and I guide them through this, they have to allow me to guide them, right?
mhm,
And so you are going to allow yourself to guide yourself, and it's going to happen. So every hypnosis session is self-hypnosis. You're allowing someone to guide you. You're allowing yourself to accept the suggestions to go deeper, to let go. Now, some folks say to me, Vanessa, I'm a very heady person, and I have to have control and I've got to do this. And I get it. I so get it. Right? The brain wants the control. Like, I'm gonna, and especially a lot of healers, we have our processes. We're like, we
Yes.
want to, right? I totally know it. I totally,
Mm,
totally understand that. And we got that.
mm,
But allowing, and so allow is like a very big word for me, right? Allowing, the invitation for us to allow to go deeper. And so it is almost like meditation. Um, you can do it through reading a book like I did. You could try on your own, right? With the suggestions I'm going to give you. You could do it with audio, self-hypnosis tracks. You can get a professional to train you. Now, let me talk a little bit about the stages of hypnosis, and then I'm going to go through the process. So the
mm,
stages of hypnosis are not rigid, right?
mm,
They are ultimately brainwave states. So you go in and out, it's like a wave, right? And
mm,
so for the self-hypnosis I'm going to guide you into today and teach you, you might hear your cat meowing outside the door. You might hear your child playing outside, right?
mm,
It's all good. You're supposed to just hear it as like it's far away. You're still in that wave, right? So the first stage is the beta stage, and it's the initial stage, right? Which is the conversational stage, and where you're still starting to settle down, but you're still really aware. And your brain is producing waking beta waves. You're beginning to take in what your hypnosis session is about. So it's like, oh, okay, so it's going to be repetitive. All right, I'm going to let go. I'll do the work later. We want to give ourselves permission to do whatever we have to do later and really be present. The alpha stage, right? This stage is when the mind and the body start to calm down as you enter into a very relaxed, more meditative state. And the theta stage is when you finally enter the third stage. Your brain is going to produce theta waves that are associated with deep meditation. And it's almost dreamlike. And it's where the mind becomes suggestible to whatever intention you're working with. Now, we've already kind of been in some of these. If you've ever listened to a song, right? And suddenly you imagine yourself on stage. I do this. I still do it. As a kid, it was with a hairbrush, and I'd be singing, and suddenly I was. But I also do it with songs when there's a song, and I'm like, a rock star on stage. If you've ever done that, and you imagine yourself there, and somebody's like, "Hey, come back to me. Where are you?" You've been in one of those stages, right?
mm,
And if you've ever even and they always say do not, and I always say too, don't practice self-hypnosis or hypnosis or even meditation while you're driving. But there is that state where you're in a car driving somewhere, but you've done it so many times that you've kind of get in the car, you drive to the local place that's nearby, and then you don't really remember exactly how you did it, but you got there. So
mm,
it's not like the deep, deep state, but it's
mm,
almost that like very relaxed state where your brain is on autopilot going forward. And so we've already experienced something. Now, such as these different wave states. Hypnosis works by putting us into the suggestible state. And what we do is we start to allow our unconscious mind to come forward and our superconscious mind. And this, hypnosis and self-hypnosis has been used with Olympic teams, have been used with sports
mm,
teams, have been used with, I've worked with companies and executive teams for less stress, more success type
mhm,
goals. You can use it to break an addiction, right? There's a lot of research on quitting smoking. You can use it to be more confident, to feel better. You can use it to live a healthier lifestyle, to allow yourself to show up for your energetic toolkit, to allow yourself to work on your anxiety. There's a lot of research out there that people who've used hypnosis or self-hypnosis have been able to reduce their stress, reduce anxiety, And I've used it very much so for, as I said, people who are have autoimmune, people who are working with cancer through their cancer process. So let's get the steps. So I wanted to give you all that background. Let's get
Thank
into the
you.
steps. What we want to do first is decide what we're working on, right? So if, let's say, you have a big meeting today or having a big talk, or let's say you just have been tired and you want to show up grounded, present, and energetic in this moment, whatever it may be, no intention is too small. So allow yourself to really naturally tap into it. We're going to get a journal or something and we're going to write it down, right? And it's going to be something like, today I allow myself to feel what I feel. Like I'll use something. So I've had a lot of loss in the last year and a half. And the other day was my brother's anniversary of his passing, was a year. And so for me, that morning after my energy treatment, I felt heavy, I felt tired, and I felt like, this energy of just like grief and sadness. And I sat down and I said, my intention was, even though my brother's passed and I miss him, I am allowing myself to feel how I feel and be grateful for what I have and the time we had together. Right. So I'm going straight into that grief because a lot of us have gone through grief. We've lost jobs, relationships. Some people have been sick. Some people have lost people that they cared about. So it could be for something as deep as that. Or even just say, today I allow myself to grieve and flow with the waves of feelings and allow myself to also be grateful for what has been and what is. And that's something that I kind of used. Or you could say, I am more and more confident every day. Or I find I am open to receiving a job that's aligned with my true self. Or even I'll allow myself to be open to financial abundance. Or I allow myself to tap into my creativity, knowing that it's safe for me to be creative. Whatever you want to do, however you want to word it. I remember that I used to do this years ago as well. Wherever I am, I prosper. I love that. Okay. And so it can be anywhere from grief to confidence to feeling better. You want to start with the intention. You want to write it out maybe a couple of times. So then you've got it in you already, and like you're embodying it a little more. And then you want to choose a place that's quiet where you're not going to be disturbed. You want to sit really comfortably in a chair with your feet flat on the floor, right? Because if you lay down, maybe you might relax yourself into a little sleepy state. And so you want to be in a state where you can relax enough, at the same time, stay awake. You can, if you do choose to lie down, make sure there are so many pillows that your body's kind of half up, okay? That's the best. If you want to light candles, if you want to turn on ambient music without words, you can do all of that. Do what feels really good to you. And don't forget to turn off your phone, right? Because there's nothing like being in your self-hypnosis and you're all like flowing with it. And then suddenly the phone goes. And so setting the intention is number one, something that feels good, and we can change it every day if that's what we need. Number two, the setup, we want it to be a quiet place and set up our body accordingly in a place where we're not going to fall asleep. And then we can start very simply. And I'm going to tell you the process, but I'm going to guide you through it. Okay. And so we're going to focus somewhere straight ahead, right? It could be a spot on the wall. And so let me guide you as I do it. So we'll do it now, if that's okay. And so again, feeling our feet on the floor, feeling our booty on the seat, and allowing our eyes to gently look straight ahead. And we're going to look at the spot at first, right? And as we look at the spot, we're going to keep our eyes open without blinking for a few minutes. And so just keeping it open until it's a little uncomfortable. And so we're keeping our eyes open, 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 open. And now when it begins to get a little uncomfortable, we're going to close our eyes and scrunch our face up. So we're going to squeeze our face, our shoulders, our fists, everything's going to be tight, 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 super tight, super tight, super tight, super tight, scrunch, crunch, crunch, and release. And as we let go, allowing our eyelids to remain closed. As we allow our eyelids to remain closed, noticing the release of tension in our forehead and noticing our jaw, it's relaxed now, letting it be slightly open. Allowing our neck and our shoulders to relax. letting the relaxation flow into the upper back, into the middle, and gently allowing the relaxation to go into your lower back, your hips, your legs, and your feet. Allowing yourself to go deeper. And with every breath in, allowing yourself to be present. And with every exhalation, allowing yourself to release and let go. And you're letting go. And you're letting go. So we're going to take 3 deep breaths in, and it's going to be a little bit of a count. So breathe in, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. And now for 5. And breathing in, breathe, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. And allowing yourself as you breathe and count 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Allowing yourself to just go deeper, allowing the energy to just feel really good and really relaxed, knowing that this is your time, that you're showing up and allowing, open, knowing that everything that you need is already within you, and knowing that while healing is a process, it can also happen faster than we imagine. And continuing to just breathe and allow yourself to go deeper, trusting that there are deep inner resources for healing and expansion and joy and confidence. As we continue to breathe in deeper and allowing ourselves to go deeper down, even more, allowing our energy. Imagining now this beautiful golden sphere of light over your head that represents your inner knowing, your deepest self, the greatest capacity that exists in your cells and your muscles and your organs and your mind and your spirit, the capacity for joy, for health. This beautiful golden light that you're imagining over your head gently begins to flow into the top of your head, gently into your third eye, into your throat, into your heart, flowing deeper and deeper to your stomach, into your hips and legs and feet, going through the floor into the earth. And as you begin to breathe in this golden light, allowing it and saying to yourself, as I breathe in this healing light, it is expanding my capacity for health and joy. And allowing the golden light to fill every cell, every bone, every muscle, every system in your being. And our intention for today, every day in every way, I'm allowing myself to show up for my own healing. It becomes easier and easier for me to practice energetic tools that help me be present. I trust and know that I can support my own health through energy medicine. As you allow yourself to continue breathing that, imagining yourself in your mind's eye, and imagining yourself in your mind's eye with that intention in motion. And how would it feel in your body to feel like you can make an impact in your health, that you can feel better? And so feeling that feeling in your body and imagining it in your mind's eye. And as you allow yourself to imagine that in your mind's eye, seeing yourself and then feeling it in your body, and now coming back fully into the body, feeling that energy, that vitality. Every day it gets easier and easier for me to show up. The more I show up for my energetic practices, the better I feel, the more alive I feel. I allow myself to show up with curiosity and support my healing. It gets easier and easier to feel grounded, to feel present. I am supported with the tools I choose. Every day it gets easier and easier for me to show up for myself. I deserve this. And allowing ourselves to keep breathing this energy. And just repeating the intention, the suggestion that feels best for you. Every day I show up for myself. It gets easier to make time for the practices that support me, that make me feel really good. Every day and every way I trust my inner knowing even more. I know that I have everything that I need within me. I know that healing is a process, and I allow myself to heal, to thrive, to shine. It is now safe for me to show up for myself, and I feel better and better every day. Just feeling that energy in your body, feeling what it would feel like to feel confident, strong, have energy, feeling vitality, and then just gently allowing yourself to take another breath, gently returning. And first, we're going to keep our eyes closed, returning and moving your feet first, and bringing back with us that energy of, every day and every way it gets easier for me to show up for myself. I feel good. I feel alive. I know that when I'm present, it feels really good to be here, and that healing can happen at any time. And just showing up, and then moving your arms and shoulders and gently coming back and opening our eyes whenever we are ready.
I feel so grateful. I've gotten 2 treatments during this interview. No, that I feel really light and really grounded, and yeah, no, that was really lovely. So thank you for guiding us through this.
Yeah, thank you. And as I was saying, pick the intention, get a safe place where you're not going to be interrupted. It could be 5 minutes. You could actually record this for yourself, right? With really beautiful music. And if you want to pick an intention and work for it with 30 days, that's a great thought. It might be something that changes. But the truth is, I was feeling, I remember that I was feeling a little stressed about taxes this year because they were complicated. And I remember that I did the self-hypnosis technique, and part of it was finding the right person because I changed accountants, and then allowing myself to know that I'm supported in it. And just as I'm an expert, someone else is going to hold me in their expertise. And it went beautifully. And so
Love that. Love that. Well, Vanessa, you've shared so many insights and, again, tangible practices that we can integrate into our daily routine. And, I think these are really essential, especially during these times. And there's just a lot out there, right? That we have lots to, that can take us off our track or create worry or fear. And these practices continue to bring us back to ourselves and feel empowered, feel guided, feel in touch, right? With, really what we're here to do. So no, I think it's so important to have. And, as we, wrap our time together, before, we kind of maybe transition to another question. Is there anything else on your heart or on your mind that you want to share about your work, or what you want people to know about their energy medicine toolkit that they have at home?
absolutely. Thank you for that question. And I really want folks to give themselves the time, and I know how hard it can be, give themselves the time to pick at least one process, right? Whether it's what I've shared today, whether it's the self-hypnosis, whether it's breath work, whether it is walking in nature. Nature always returns us to that like present moment, right? Dancing always did that, singing. I've actually taken up frame drumming. I'm just a beginner, but it's
Wow.
been so wonderful for me. And so that's my message, is like, make the time. You are worth it. You deserve it. You are an incredible, beautiful soul in an incredible, beautiful body. You deserve to give yourself the time, the love that maybe you've gotten, maybe you haven't. And who cares who cares even if you've gotten it or not? You can have that peace and that self-love from yourself right now, right? Because being present invites us into all those resources that we carry. And so I really do invite you to tap into those. And another message that comes clearly as well, if you have a message that's powerful for you culturally, really important for you to do that. For me, it's been having a bóveda, right, which is an altar. And my altar, I have an altar of a wall where I have all my ancestors. There's glasses of water that I refill every Monday and I clear. There's flowers on it. I've had it for a very long time, but that's a way to still keep the connection with people who crossed over, and also to work the ancestral, either the gifts, bringing it in, or also dealing with our grief and dealing with our pain, right? They're still present. We're still thinking of them. And altars can be for your ancestors. It could also be for your health, right? And so just if you have a cultural practice, go for it. If it is dance, if it is music, it's so important for us to keep connected to our ancestral gifts while we also show up for ourselves. So thank you.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. I love that. And that's such an opportunity, right, to look at our culture and where we came from. And really, we talk a lot about ancestral patterns and trauma, but this is another kind of way to bring the beauty of our ancestry and the beauty of these legacy practices into our daily life, and keep that connection of where we came from. I love that. I'll have to look into that. I have a mixed heritage, so I'll have to look into that. I do think I did 23andMe, Vanessa, and my dad is adopted, so I never thought I had Spanish blood, but I do. So I have some Spanish Iberian blood. So I'll have to connect with you more,
So Christine,
Yeah.
my grandmother was adopted, and I knew she was
Yeah.
indigenous, but I didn't know where from.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
born in Peru because my mom was working there.
Yeah.
But and when people were like, are you Peruvian? Well, I was born there. My mom was
Yeah.
from Argentina. I was
Yeah.
like, well, it turns out that my grandmother, actually, her ancestors are from Peru.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very mixed too.
Yeah.
I'm very,
Yeah.
more than I look, I'm very, and that's something that I always tell us. I mean, I've met some people who are like 98% Irish, right? Or
Yeah.
98% something. My partner is 99% Anatolian.
Mhm.
Okay. Right. He's Turkish and
Yeah.
Kurdish.
Yeah.
But most of us, we've got so many practices there for us. So
Mhm.
yes, check it
Yeah.
out.
Honor it. Well, great, Vanessa. I guess as we wrap, I just want, as we're both co-hosting what we feel is really, what a wonderful group of people we brought together, and what great just areas of expertise, and really a broad spectrum, I feel, that people can connect with. And I love how you share, like, just to see what resonates with you, see what you're drawn to, because I think there's so many pearls of wisdom within the summit. And I just wanted to give you the opportunity, anything that really opened up your mind or kind of connected some dots to the work that you're already doing in the work of energy medicine through the interviews you did.
That is such a great question. So, what I loved, I mean, I loved everyone and I loved everything. I was just like, yes, I get to do
Yeah.
this every day.
Yeah.
But the thing that I love the most, I think, is talking to the scientists, right?
Mhm.
Because, I've been practicing so much for so long in different ways that getting to the science of it, right? With Rasmus talking about
Yeah.
heart rate variability, translating that into color and sound. Like we got to see his daughter being plugged in and her heart rate coming
Oh, I
into
love
color
that.
and then sound, and then we picked different instruments. That was beautiful. Speaking with Dr. Beverly Rubik, who's been doing research for almost 40 years.
Yeah.
And when her research wasn't really accepted, she went and created her own organization. Hello, power to
Yeah.
her. And so what she's found in terms of energy medicine and the benefits that it has, and there's so many. And then Dr. Dawson Church, and a lot of what he was saying, I was practicing it in my way, but I love to hear the research and how EFT and how many other practices helped shift like a whole group of veterans, right, from PTSD and trauma. And so I love seeing that science. I always say, like, science has to catch up to us. I mean, I always say that. I don't know if scientists appreciate me saying that, but I feel like that sometimes. Yeah. Oh, good. So these are some of the folks that really spoke to me. But again, everybody is really wonderful.
Thank you for sharing those pearls, and everybody, please check out those talks and all of them. We are again grateful for all of the people who came together to share and create the summit with us. And no, I love that. I feel like that, it's this bridge of science and spirituality, right? We're always looking, sometimes we have this experience or this knowing, and, then we have to look and try to explain it, right? And so I think, with the scientists that you've shared in our community, that we're just getting started, right? And in a lot of ways to bring a language to this. So it's a really exciting, pioneering time. So, well, Vanessa, it's been just so lovely getting to know you, especially in this way that I get to interview you. And I've learned a lot from you today. And I'm sure many of those who are listening as well. And if people want to connect more with you, I know your information is throughout the summit, but I'd love for people to have that opportunity. Where is the best way to learn more about your work and stay connected?
Thank you so much. So you can go on thebizbruja.com, and I'm on Instagram a lot. So the Bizbruja right there, and you'll find the school there. You'll find all the information. So thank you. It's been so great.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. We'll have a beautiful day, and thank you all for all that you're doing to bring forward energy medicine into your daily life. So thank you so much.